I would love the opportunity to have introduce Calvin Lovejoy and ask him a little bit about his role in regards to the Community Safety Coalition.
Sure. So my role as a lead community organizer with Blue Hills Civic Association really puts me at the forefront of community engagement. Our part is really about being a partner and a collaborator in doing just what the title says, and that is collaborating to make the community safe. And one of the, I would say, premier parts of doing that is working with young men like these and young ladies as well, but just making sure that our youth have a voice and that they become the change agents and the vehicles of change for our future.
And it looks as though these young men are on their way to that. Thank you. So I'm going to start with Wayne. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, what school you attend, and your age, please?
I'm 21 years old. I'm a Hartford resident. I went to Kinsella Magnet School of Performing Arts for high school, and I'm currently at Eastern Connecticut State University. And my major is sport management with a concentration in sports science and performance.
Wayne, one of the things that stood out for me when we spoke is that you spoke about your relationship with Brother Carl Hodrick. And for those of you who don't know, Brother Carl Hodrick is the ambassador for the Wilson Gray YMCA in Hartford, Connecticut. And he has been a just pioneer within the Hartford community in regards to mentoring young men within our community for over 60-something years. And Wayne is one of the young men that Brother Carl mentors. And so, Wayne, could you tell me a little bit about that moment when you first met Brother Carl?
I met him at the YMCA when I was going there when I was younger. It's probably about 11 or 12 when I first started going. He was he's as he is now, he's always busy. So he kind of pops his head in and out. And the defining moment for me was my freshman year of high school. I was 14 years old, so a lot of stuff was still kind of brewing for me. It was really new experience being in high school. And we had I lived in an apartment building right next to the YMCA, and we had a house fire. And he was there, like he showed up on the scene. He was making sure that myself and my family was good, and everything pretty much ran smoothly for us to transition from that moment. And that's when I realized how much of my family that he knew. And just being there for me without me, having a direct relationship with him at the time was something that was really big for me because it showed me how much he did want to help me. And just how much he loves to help people, which is something that really stood out for me.
One of the things that stood out for me when I spoke with you last is that you talked about the relationship with Brother Carl and your mother and how they inspired you to continue on with your education, and they saw the potential in you. Can you please tell me a little bit about that story?
I think that was something I always knew just because of how much I was told about the potential I had. So I'm glad I definitely had that experience being able to hear that from my mentors and the people around me that I was someone who had some type of special potential. And just seeing how much he said it and he believed it is something that truly stood out to me. And it helped me understand what role I could play in people's lives and just understanding the type of work that he does, being able to help people. And I think that's what kind of showed me and made me feel the same, want to be able to help other people.
You also spoke about is when Brother Carl encouraged you to attend Camp Woodstock Medicine. What was it about Camp Woodstock that changed the whole trajectory of your life for you? What was that experience like?
I went to Camp Woodstock throughout school, and then going with the YMCA was a totally different experience because I was able to be around people that come from the same background, same neighborhood as myself, and understanding what type of people those counselors were, and how much they wanted to help the kids that were there. And that's something that I actually picked up myself. So I'm currently a camp counselor. Well, I'm an assistant director of Camp Dakota at the YMCA right now. This is my third year there, so that's something that definitely stuck with me being a camper myself. And I just did in both roles and have a counselor or staff member at campus with me. So that's something that I picked up myself, being able to help the youth in my community that way.
Thank you, Wayne. I would like to ask a question to my buddy over there, Mr. Darius. Can you tell us your full name, your age, and the school you're attending in September?
My name is Darius McKnight. I just turned 18 not too long ago. I'll be attending Central next week.
Darius, one of the things that stood out for me when we spoke is that you talked about how you weren't really sure about what it is that Brother Carl did, okay? And then you said he decided to let you sit in a meeting with him and Mrs. Price. Can you tell us a little bit about that story and how that meeting changed the trajectory of your life?
So it was me and his grandson. We was just driving around BC that day. We didn't even want to go to the meeting because we knew he was gonna be there for hours. So we ended up going, and then they were just talking about. She had one of her friends from I think Cali come down. I don't know where he was from, but they were just talking about a lot of resources, doing stuff for the youth, getting money so they could take them to. This was the Keon League last year to take them to a trip in Boston. So I was just understanding about how he like reaches out to people who have resources that he don't to help the youth.
You said that exposure and that meeting changed your view on college and your future. You said you never envisioned yourself attending college. Why is that?
It just showed like how much college can get you in life. Because if I didn't go to college, how would you get like money in your pocket, food in your stomach? So yeah, just that meeting and them just talking showed on how college can help hopefully let me give back to the community one day.
You talked about your dreams and your hopes for the future and for your community. Would you like to share a little bit about that?
One day I want to like open up a rec center so like kids and their teenage around 13, 18, they could come play ball between late nights during the summer. So, they just always busy and out on the streets.
Wilson Gray YMCA is a place that you said that you constantly hung out with Brother Carl's grandson. Can you tell us a little bit about the rides home and how Brother Carl ensured that you were safe?
The rides home used to be fun. It used to be 10 people in one van. So we used to just do a lot of dumb stuff back then. That's how I got close with Dutta and a lot of other people from the Y. But BC just ensured people's safety because he'll make constant trips. 3 trips, he'll be out to 11. It was constantly his wife would call him, asking where he at all the time. And he'll just hang up.
Hello, Brother Carl.
The rides are very important because you learn a lot about the individual. I remember a situation that happened when I learned about the young lady before she got shot, who was going to shoot her. And I wouldn't have never known this if I didn't give the other young lady a ride home. I said, you need to talk to so-and-so. With Darius and them, I'm always putting knowledge in their head constantly. If you're going to get out of poverty, you got to do it through education. And you got to make good decisions and good choices.
Thank you so much, Brother Carl. Thank you so much. So my next question is from Mr. Donald Palmer. Donald, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you grew up?
I grew up in the north end of Hartford on Green Street. I attended Bethune. I'm a graduate from Bethune-Cookman University with a business major in business administration. I'm currently going to be starting school in October for clinical mental health counseling at Bay Path University for my master's. Where I grew up, it wasn't the prettiest, you got to step out. When you step out your house, you got to thank God for another day. And when you walk back in that house, honestly.
And what kept you going in a positive direction? How did you escape from that neighborhood?
The things that was going on in my community, from people being shot, young kids dying not from sickness, from another person taking their life. So I know, like, me growing up, I was the only the male child my mother had. So I done seen a mother with that hurt from her losing her only son. So always thought to myself, like, I don't want to I don't want to die young. Honestly, I was always superstitious because, like, you know, everyone was like dying young. I used to go in the house. My mom could be watching the TV. She could have it on volume 12 or 15. I said, turn it up to 21 because I want to live past 21. Things like that. Certain things. I was always superstitious.
Right. So
Mhm.
what changed when your friend was shot down?
That was like a real turning point in my life because this was like a person that comes to my house every morning to, oh, let's go play basketball, let's go play football, let's go do this, let's go do that, to seeing him in a casket, not moving, and that was like my first funeral ever. So when I saw him in the funeral, I'm talking to him like, get up, you know what I'm saying? Get up out of there, like this can't be like the ending point of that. So, you know, it was just like real traumatizing just to see somebody that, you know, that came to your house, came to the family Thanksgivings, the family events, like always around to not being around. So, you know, that was just like very like a painful moment in my life because I didn't know, like at the age of 14, I was just lost.
So do you think that experience influenced you to get your master's in mental health?
Uh I wouldn't say that. It's a series of events in my life. Because I was a business administration major at Bethune-Cookman. Then back in February of this year, I was a victim of a stabbing. So after I got stabbed, I went through therapy, and I'm going through all these sessions. So, you know, Mr. Woods and I'm coming by my bedside and talking to me, and you know, I'm just listening, but I'm still like lost at the moment. You know what I'm saying? Then I went into another therapy session. Then I just stumbled across, like, I asked the therapist, like what's your job, because I felt like that service like really helped me. Then he was telling me his mental clinical health counseling. So that's when I was like, that's something I want to do, to go help others that's been a victim of crimes, brutal crimes, or, you know, even if like the family have like a deceased one, to help them, talk to them, and
Okay.
help in any way possible, honestly.
So what part did mentorship from these men and Hartford communities that care play in keeping you moving in a positive direction?
I believe because, you know, like growing up, like it was like where I come from, there's a lot of single mothers. It was really only your mother that's showing that love to you, you know, that and compassionate love that you need. And it's like Brother Carl, Mr. Woods, Brother Lovejoy, you see these faces in the community that keep coming around to the neighborhood. And like the neighborhood I grew up in, it wasn't nothing like a street that you could just drive down, but they coming down the street to have that convo with us. So I like that showed me that they cared. So, you know, just them like giving us, like showing us different things, even in like going into the woods, like Woodstock, like they bringing different kids from different neighborhoods into a whole like 45 minutes away from Hartford. And you know,
So,
you feel
right,
like Brother Crowd would say, the beef is fake or something.
right.
As soon as you get
So
into
Camp Woodstock gave you, it sounds like Camp Woodstock gave you all an opportunity to move past all of your differences, it sounds like,
yeah.
and build friendships that move beyond the streets. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you so much, Donald. Thank you.
Thank you.
So my next question is for Mr. Paris. You also are very involved with Blue Hills Civic Association, and now you're partnering with, interning with Hartford Communities That Cares. Can you tell us what is it that made you decide to step into the next role as an intervener with Hartford Communities That Cares?
So like for the past 3 years, like Hills has probably been making like a transition, more into like youth organizing and stuff. So
Thank you, Evan.
yeah, so the last 3 years they made like a transition more into like youth organizing and stuff like that. And you know, I've been through it like all the way through since my junior year. I started off with Peace 21 doing stuff inside the school. Right now I'm on the core team with Blue Hills Civic Association. We do stuff in the Northeast neighborhood. And I was offered I was given the opportunity, and you know, I just thought, you know, it's another way to help the community. So I was all over it.
So what is it that drives you and makes you want to be part of a community and give back to the same community that you belong to?
I guess it's just like growing up around like all the negativity, you know, having, you know, people that you're really close with being shot, people that you see like every day die. I just feel like that nobody really deserves to grow up around that. So my motivation is kind of to kind of make things better for like my future family, and also, you know, just kids who have to go through this every day, just like I had to go through.
So, can you give me an example that anything you've experienced so far as an intervener?
Back in February, probably like one of my closest friends, she got shot. Um, yeah, it was in that club shooting that happened in February, and you know, she was out of it, traumatized, and you know, I was kind of there like as a support system for her. I was at the hospital like all the time, just helping her recover. Just
So, you had your first experience as an intervener without even knowing it,
yeah.
just doing what was right. So, Damari, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Damari, can you tell me what school you attend and where do you live?
I go to Windsor High School and I live in Windsor.
I thought it was really important to have you here this evening because everyone always assumes that when you live in another area outside of Hartford, that your life in the suburbs is perfect. And so, what I wanted to ask you is, what is the dynamic on how people view suburban Black youth versus urban?
They have that pre-assumption as to suburban Black youth are just these Oreos that live inside of the good part of the town and they haven't experienced anything. But I could tell you that that's not the case. Like I like to tell people that I lived a double life, right? So I lived in the suburban area and then I was, I guess I could say fortunate enough to have that experience to go into my dad's side and see the, urban side of the area. So I had to do that code switching. I had to learn what code switching was. So they never knew from me talking and me presenting myself, they never knew that I had that urban experience, but I also did. So that pre-assumption is something that all Black suburban kids face, but nobody will know exactly what they go through until they go beyond the surface. There's a fact out there that says Black student is exposed to one Black teacher before the third grade has a more greater chance of attending a college. So putting them inside of that environment where they see another Black teacher or a Black person inside of the community that made it out of just poverty and made it out of all the violence going on will actually boost their self-esteem, boost their confidence. Like I want to be like that person. Like I don't want to go through all these challenges and go through all these things. And there's also another route that they can go under. But having that Black teacher that's being there and saying that I've been in your shoes, I did what you did, I experienced what you experienced, but there's a way out of it. Giving them that narrative, giving them that person will actually give them that self-confidence, that self-esteem, that boost, that energy to go out and do what they need to do.
How has Hartford Community Cares, and Andrew Woods been influential in your life?
Before Hartford Communities That Care, I had my grandfather, but my grandfather passed away. So I had no mentorships inside of like that whole year period of me just going through that grief and all, just trying to figure out the person that I needed to be. So being put into programs by Mr. Andrew Woods was kind of an eye opener. It's like, I don't need to be exactly what the media portrays me to be. Like I could be what I need to be, what I hope to be, what I've always dreamed to be. That experience as to this is how the real world is going to treat you. You're never always going to be ready. You're going to always be on your feet, on your toes, be ready to go out and do what you need to do. So the fact that I had the opportunity to go into these programs was really helpful because it gave me that pathway, that experience to do better.
Wayne, I have a question for you. In the community in the North, especially in the Hartford or communities that are economically challenged, people tend to encourage our kids, make sure that you go towards sports, or any form of sports or entertainment. That's going to be your ticket out. Am I correct? Do you all feel that way?
It's good though. I acknowledge it because like without sports, I felt like I would have never went to college. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't looking forward to like college. I'm not like a school person, but now through sports, I gained that love for school. honestly. If it wasn't for sports, I would have never like got like a scholarship. You know what I'm saying? I don't look at it as
Right.
like as a ticket out. I look at it as like this is a helping hand, because with sports it's not just teaching. You gotta look at sports as life. It's like when you enter the sports world, it's like you're a baby again going through another cycle. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have
Yes, I
that
do.
discipline, that tutoring, that teaching, and life experience.
Are there any other programs or options you feel would be beneficial, that would be helpful to the next generation or the generation that's coming up right here, right now, next to you?
Some
Thank
type
you.
of funding, scholarships, grants, whatever the case may be, understanding that these kids won't have to pay for the mentorship, the guidance that they need to be successful. You know, their parents might not be able to afford being able to pay for camp, or even afford to pay for the membership just for their kids to be in the Y. So understanding that sometimes money is the true issue for a lot of people in our communities, knowing that they can't pay for the same resources and same opportunities that some of us may have.
BHCA, every summer, they have this thing called Summer Youth Employment and Learning Program. And pretty much what that does is every summer they have like 400 to 500 spots where they give like kids in the community like job opportunities and experiences. Throughout high school, like all 4 years of my high school, I did that like every summer. It gave me the experience I needed. It gave me financial literacy, career development, different stuff like that. So yeah, I think that was really helpful.
I want to start to encourage the older generation, especially to start being there for for the youth, because you don't see a lot of old heads, as I call them. You don't see a lot of old heads out here talking about you should get the education that you need. You don't see them engaging with the youth. So I want to encourage them to start doing that, because a perspective from an older one, if they're willing to listen, will definitely help them out. And also there's programs like the program that I'm in, the Greater Hartford Youth Leadership Academy, which also helps them develop as a young individual, whether it's public speaking or just learning how to carry yourself. There's a lot of things that schools can do as well. Like,
Going off of what Wayne was saying, it all really does come down to like the funding and the grants or the money, or any like even the scholarships, because I believe before Hartford Community Cares, we had Stomp the Violence. Stomp the Violence for the youth. We used to go up to Camp Woodstock. I think that should like come back, honestly, for the youth to like go get away from the community, to like experience new things, canoeing, artwork and tower climbing and stuff like that. Just team bonding and workshops, honestly, because like that's what like I got my like experience from, like getting away from Hartford, and that's what like really helped me, honestly.
Okay. And did you all come back and share those experiences with people within your community?
Of course, as soon as we got off the bus, I'm running back to Green Street telling everybody what we done did. I was on a boat in the water, brother. Crowd was swimming out in the lake in the morning. So,
Homes really did long.
so it was just, and I'm talking about it could be cold too. He's in the water, so it was just like it was just different like things like that. Like, come on, like I'm going up to Camp Woodstock, get peanut butter, put it on bread, put it with the marshmallows. I never had that.
Someone had a question from you, from Randall Ward. They'd like to know if today's music has an influence over you.
I mean, it doesn't have an influence on me. I just find it like catchy, like because the music I listen to talks about drugs, like all that. But you don't see me outside going to shoot somebody, like selling drugs in a corner. So it doesn't have impact on me. I just find it interesting.
Okay. So it doesn't influence your decision making.
Yeah.
Or you're like, okay, so just entertainment.
with me, I feel like if the kid has no mentorship or nobody to look at other than the music, then it becomes a bad thing, because some of these songs have certain things where the child has to just listen to that as their only inspiration. So if artists start to look at what can I do to also not only give them this entertaining music, but also give them that aspect as to where how I made it, how I did this. I didn't come up easy. I had to hustle to get this. It's not like you don't have to always do that selling drugs. You don't have to always shoot somebody in order to get where you're at. So if the kid has no mentorship, then it's like they're only listening to what they're saying. And sometimes they don't always have that positive message. So that bad message is what they're always listening to. So that stems into their brain. So we have to start getting our artists to think of who their audience is and how they can speak to that audience so that the next generation is better than what they had to go to.
Daniel, how do you feel the narrative of young Black men is playing out? You know, we see it and today in the media constantly. You know, right now we have the movement with Black Lives Matter. I mean, just so many, just so much going on. How do you feel that you would like to see that narrative change?
I like to see it change like drastically, like even like when you was talking about with the schooling, like the suburbs to urban. So like I went to well, my first college was a PWI, and I've been to a high school that promotes the Black History Month. I went to a PWI. They didn't even think about doing a Black History Month in the school. We had to actually fight. Like my second year, that first year when it happened, we had to fight throughout that whole year into that second year for the school to start promoting the Black History Month where I was at. So like I felt real, like honestly, I felt disrespected as like a Black man at the school. And I don't like, I can't even like, it's too much
Sounds
to
like
it.
you
I
can't put it
can't,
into words.
it's something that's like, it will get you angry, then I don't want to, it's just that it's too deep, you know?
Do you feel like mental health is something that is ignored within our community and especially Black men?
Mental health is that's deep too. Like when I was talking to Mr. Woods after I was stabbed up and stuff like that, I didn't realize I was going through like a trauma, honestly, you know what I'm saying? So it's like he broke it down to me like you could be walking in the neighborhood and this person just keep looking over his shoulder, but he wouldn't notice that's like a sign of trauma, but it is. So like we go through it. So like people around here has that PTSD, but they don't know it. You would have noticed. So, but it's something that the community, the urban community, that we definitely do need it. That's why I'm going back to school for mental clinical health counseling. I want to go there to get that practice, that knowledge, to first learn about myself, um, to come back to my community to help others that like been a victim of like a brutal crime or that's traumatized like that's going through that hardship. So I feel like that's like something real big because I'm always a person to come back and help the youth. Honestly, that's big. That's something big for me because that's something like I only had my mother. I never had my father in my life, honestly. Uh, and I was only getting like the love from my mother. I didn't get the love from the community. Like the community taught me the tough love. You know, you gotta grow up rough. You know you don't have to grow up rough. You don't have to grow up as like as what they say a savage, whatever you want to call it.
I can also speak on that as well. I'm This is my senior year of college, but I've always went to PWI. So I went to Anna Maria College in Massachusetts. And then I transferred and went to Capital for a semester, finishing off my sophomore year. And now I'm at Eastern. And I was running track at Eastern. And again, being at a PWI, it's like you're one of the only few Black people on the team or just other school in general. And with everything that's going on now, seeing that, another Black man like myself, George Floyd, who, was killed by police officers, all the racial injustices that's going on, and not a single one of my coaches reached out to me, which I felt like was really weird. Understanding how big of a deal this was for the Black community in general, understanding that I'm one of the only, Black people on the team. And that was something that really stood out to me and just made me feel as though I was, just another another piece of property to them, and I felt really disrespected in that regards. And I can also see the same just in general with the schooling. That's something that really stood out to me and made me understand who I was and what they needed me for. And I felt like it was more so about me being a member of the team rather than helping me develop as a man. So
Who influences you within Community Safety Coalition?
I don't know if I can really say a name, but I think just the idea of seeing fellow Black individuals, the Black men, Black women who are working to be successful people, and who care about the success of other Black people is something that really just influences me. Just because I know that, which is sad to say, but I know no one else is going to do it. So just seeing that those people don't lose hope for themselves and for the development of the rest of us as a Black community.
And I think just listening to each one of you, it just sounds like, Brother Carl, Mr. Woods, Dean Jones, Calvin Lovejoy. I mean, I constantly hear the names over and over and over again. And that's the part that's so impactful about the Community Safety Coalition, because it's made up of these 5 organizations, but yet each one of you get an opportunity to move in and out each organization, but yet under one umbrella. One of the questions someone asked me is, what is your story now? What is your story right now?
I think my story is to just continue to do what I said I was going to do, just helping people. That's always been the biggest thing for me. And as I talked about before, just finding a vehicle for myself that was going to get me to that destination the fastest. Because I know that at a time like this, we see how much time we actually do have, and it's very slim in terms of helping our people understand what rights they have when a police officer stops them, understanding what voting rights they have, understanding who to vote for, just things of that nature. It's not always about what we've been through in terms of our past, but of course that's definitely something that you need to pay attention to. But I think
Yeah.
What we lack and what we need. So things of that nature, personal finance, just things outside of the norm, or quote unquote norm, for Black people.
My older brother had got locked up I was in the middle of a basketball game at the time too, when my twin brother told me. But it was a little bit after that. That just opened my eyes a little bit, because I just didn't want to end up, in prison. And BC, I was always with BC, and just seeing his work, it's just like, if I was to fall down that negative road, it's just like I'm putting more work on him, because constantly he's always in the street trying to find answers, trying to solve the beef and all that. And if I was to end up that, it's just making him do more work. So rather that I just stood on good track. He always checked in, asked me how my grades was. My grades was always good in school. So now look where I am, going off to school.
Marius, you work with the director, Eddie Brown, who is the director of the Greater Hartford Youth Leadership Academy at HCTC.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You want to tell us how that has influenced you?
So the Greater Hartford Youth Leadership Academy started off as just like, I guess, like 4 of us in a room, just figuring out the certain problems within Hartford, and how we could come up with the solutions. But as the years went on, I've been doing this for 5 years. So as the years went on, it's just like we started getting more people, and that more people turned to more people. And it's just like now we're this big group where we take trips to Washington, D.C., and we present these issues. And it turned really into just researching and community engagement.
Love to have everyone meet Mr. Eddie Brown. Eddie Brown is the director of the Greater Hartford Youth Leadership Academy at Hartford Communities That Cares. Eddie, can you tell us a little bit about the program?
The Greater Hartford Youth Leadership Academy is made up of middle and high school youth from within Greater Hartford and the surrounding areas, pretty much doing public policy research on recommendations that have to do with alleviating poverty, equalizing education, violence and trauma, really on prevention. It all really rooted into the fact that Mr. Woods and his team started back some time ago in the early 2000s with Stump. And as time went on, things transitioned, but it was able to resurrect back in 2015, early 2016. And again, having founding members like Damari, Little Lovejoy, we call him Little Lovejoy, Khalil, Lovejoy's son, and a few others. And then it just expanded, and now we have maybe 15 to 20 youth consistently that meet.
Recently, I'm so excited to hear about the development of the Raising Youth podcast, Voices
Yes.
podcast. You want to tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes. So me outside of youth development, my background is media communications coming from Eastern Connecticut State University. So it's always something that I did. I had my own personal podcast, which was on hold, but then realizing, hearing the youth voices around the table and really nothing being captured. It was an idea I had last summer, mid 2019, when we were in transition of trying to, continue and sustain the Youth Leadership Academy. But really just putting the topics together in a podcast format, getting a round table and really, laying these issues on the table. I felt that it was a, creative space and a safe outlet for them, as well as it being captured and promoted, on a YouTube channel, social media, so that other people can hear it and see it and really be inspired by what the youth voice has to say. But we have to understand, they have a voice as well too. So that was really the key to really allow them to have that creative space, have that platform to share their views on how they feel about society and so many different aspects and different topics.
Eddie, you're doing a lot. You're doing a lot, and it's working because it's so important that, just tonight, just for us to even have this conversation, just kind of, genuine, allowing you to have your voices heard, allowing people to hear what you think, because so often people have conversations about you instead of with you. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
What young Black men need, and there's always somebody else discussing it besides the young Black men. So it was an opportunity for us to have these conversations, but more importantly, to continue these conversations with the Community Safety Coalition. And I want to ensure that people listen to the podcast or Raising
Youth Voices.
Mm-hmm. And check that out on YouTube. Am I correct, Eddie?
Yes, YouTube, Raising Youth Voices. That's the channel, Raising Youth Voices. And you can also follow us through the links on hartfordctc.org.
Okay. I could sit here and listen to you all day, in all honesty. I was so impressed with each and every one of you when I interviewed you prior and even tonight. I mean, you have so much to say, and it's so important for young people to be able to hear young people. That's just so important. Each one of you have your own delivery and style, which is so unique. But I thank you all for coming on here tonight and sharing your stories with everyone. I look forward to us, again, like I said, having another panel discussion around what's next in social justice for our young Black men in America, and especially right here in the Hartford area. Make sure that you all look out for these young brothers when you see them out in the community. And when you're thinking about internships, don't forget about them. It's not just tonight, it's about the future. So again, I thank you all for joining us here this evening on Francine Live, and we look forward to seeing you again.